A few months ago, I took a little vacation to Prague, and for some peculiar reason, I actually felt happy. Was I enamored with the change of scenery and unequivocally elated that I was there with my best friend? Absolutely. The cathedrals and cobblestone streets certainly didn't hurt either, but I don't think that they were the primary source of my joy. As a youngish man hailing from the backed-up freeways and solipsistic culture of Los Angeles, I couldn't help but notice how lively, robust, and connected Prague felt in comparison to the loneliness of not only LA, but a substantial amount of other major American cities. At least the ones that I've been to, of course. Let me know if any of you are thriving in like Concord, Vermont or something. Maybe I'll stop by. I've heard it's nice this time of year. According to every study in the book, the vast majority of Gen Z is afflicted with immense loneliness. 10,000 hours of screen time, coupled with a dreary and bleak future, truly works wonders on the collapse of the human mind, doesn't it? But this loneliness epidemic has much more to do with just being on that damn phone. When you get off said damn phone and try to touch grass, all you can seem to find is potholes in the concrete, overpriced drinks, and a little more misery than one would like. After all, your environment and its atmosphere are usually quite indicative of your mood and general feelings towards your life. And in the case of living in a modern American major city, life barely feels like it most of the time. First and foremost, let's address the obvious. On an average American salary for us young people, it's almost completely impossible to afford anything and be comfortable financially. Buying a house? Yeah, right. Renting without a roommate is damn near impossible, and if you do, you're probably just working to throw most of your money down the garbage disposal to live with someone who never does the dishes. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Most things are a fortune, especially the things that seem like they shouldn't be.
How has inflation affected you?
I'm barely surviving. Even potato chips, right? They same. They will reduce the number of potato. They'll just remove potato, right? So the ounces will go down, but the price will go up.
I remember being so broke in San Francisco, I would shoplift carrots and zucchini, and I had a job. Like, what the hell is that? And although I never side with a communist, whatever bastardization of capitalism that we're living under has created an absolute disaster for everyone but the hyper-rich who are living under it. And come on, capitalism, if we can't own homes, at least give us a little employee discount on our nights out. But of course, that would be too much to ask for. Going out for a few beers somehow ends up running you almost $100. Ubers are 300 million minimum, and don't even get me started on fucking dinner. Shout out to the Uber drivers, by the way. When you live somewhere where the cost of going out is too expensive for most, naturally people are gonna end up staying in, and I don't blame them. And when they do choose to go out, it always becomes some kind of event with stakes that are way too fucking high based on what's being done. There's this expectation that so many people have that going out after the sun goes down is supposed to be this glorious Project X-esque night, when in reality most nights are quite frivolous and just boil down to trying your best to have a good time, which I think is beautiful, by the way. But because everything is so expensive, people expect to get their money's worth. This leads to bar hopping to a bunch of places that are just as bad as the gentrified dive you were just at, endlessly searching for a utopia that doesn't exist, only to empty your wallet on not even enough $18 cocktails. And look, sometimes a shitty night can actually make for an incredible time, but not if you're paying infinitely more than what it's worth. And once again, this causes the majority of people to want to stay in, but at the end of the day, we're relational human beings, and I think we all have the urge to engage with each other in some capacity. So why can't we just hang out in parks, grab coffee, or have small get-togethers where we're not spending an arm and a leg to pretend to have fun? Unfortunately, for many, these activities are diminished and are seen as boring and uninteresting things to do. Why is this the case? I hate to break it to you all, but it's because most young people have immeasurably unhealthy relationships, if any at all, and due to that, can't find the beauty in just chilling, as we used to say, with someone you really love. Literally anywhere that you are isn't so bad when you're with someone you love that you've built a relationship with, but that's for another video. On top of that, the majority of young people have no idea how to entertain. They can't cook, they can't clean, always invite the wrong kinds of people, and think Drake is the greatest artist of our generation.
Drake!
This is one of the reasons why there's always such an emphasis on going out, when most of us could just offer a much better experience in our own places, out and about, even in our cars. Yet we rely on bars, restaurants, and consumerism to provide us with the experiences that most of us could give if we put in a little more effort into not only others, but ourselves as well. I know that LA in particular is a highly romanticized place, supposedly a bastion of glitz, glam, and beauty, but I hate to break it to you, by and large the city is an aesthetic and infrastructural disaster. The majority of buildings are bland and bleak in their appearance, the inside of most of them resembling the dreariness of a corporate office building entirely devoid of anything remotely artistic. Not to suck off European cities too much, as I know that they also have their fair share of problems, but the effort and care that was put into the architecture and its preservation in Prague was absolutely astonishing. Nearly every building is a piece of art, and even if some of them aren't the most conventionally beautiful, there's still personality to them that you just don't get in good old America, unless you enjoy the personality of a concrete slab. And I'll admit it, I have an affinity for Gothic architecture, people who never thought Hawk Tuah was funny, and Monica Bellucci. Sorry, I like beautiful things. And although I still try my best, it's incredibly difficult to feel connected to a city that is essentially a glorified strip mall. When McDonald's and H&M are some of the primary attractions of the city, many of us don't even want to participate in or contribute to society, as these cities don't feel like they were created by human beings for human beings in any capacity, rather generated by AI to profit off of us. This almost seems to be intentional in many ways, where instead of taking the time to admire, explore, and learn about our cities and their history, the environment inadvertently emphasizes and puts us in a mindset of overconsumption, excessive hustling, and hyper-individualism, which of course benefits the mega corporations that seemingly own and control our cities, ultimately proliferating a drone-like and inhuman capitalistic mentality amongst the general populace. I know I'm complaining, but driving down the street in a major American city is genuinely demoralizing. You look around and it's like, there's nothing here, and the only things that are here are poisoning the people's minds and bodies. It may just be me, but I'd rather stare at an ornate cathedral than a Chick-fil-A or the Gucci store. Speaking of which, with the exception of New York, none of our cities are walkable. Don't get me wrong, there are a few things I adore more than my car, but I'd be a liar if I said that cars are inherently isolating, especially when getting from point A to point B can frequently take over an hour. I'll never fail to tell the city planners that they should be deeply ashamed of themselves. Anyway, something that I've noticed is that when everyone is walking around the city and sharing public transportation, not only do you feel more connected to your city and its people, the concept of social anxiety becomes essentially non-existent. Even if you're not directly interacting with people, the closeness alone makes you feel far more comfortable with the idea of an interaction or a conversation with a stranger. All of my generation who are terrified of talking to a cashier need some serious exposure therapy, but no wonder why. Unless you yourself are a cashier, your human interaction on a day-to-day basis in America is incredibly seldom. And it certainly doesn't help that Uber Eats, DoorDash, Amazon Prime, and a litany of other delivery services exist, making leaving the house to get anything a nearly obsolete practice. Wow. I often wonder why I see so few young people when I'm out and about, and I believe that this is the reason for it, which in my mind seriously needs to change. I know that this may sound extreme, but please all of you delete Postmates immediately and make more of an effort to go outside and interact with other people when you can. In-person community. It's almost completely dead amongst young people, I know, and our cities are certainly to blame, that's a fact. However, a number of months ago when a multitude of other YouTubers were making videos about the death of third places and why we don't have community because of that, I was immediately skeptical. Many of them were saying, if we just had more third places, then we would all be united and happy and free of all of our problems, yay! Sorry dear people, you're all wrong. Community doesn't come from some place that's built for you that you can just show up at as you please. True community comes from building a culture around you that is predicated on selflessness, sacrifice, honesty, humility, and walking through the narrow gate. And I hate to say it, that shit ain't easy. If we truly want a resurgence of a strong in-person community, it's imperative that we adopt these traits and we become the people that others would want to build something of substantial value with. And I really do believe that that's possible even with the decrepit state of our cities. Yes, it would be nice to not sit in traffic for an hour and a half, drive past some beautiful architecture, have the ability to walk to your favorite coffee shop, or maybe even afford a home. But at this point, if we want any chance at community and feeling connected to our people, the onus is completely on us. I can tell you right now, Trump, Kamala, and all these other idiots aren't gonna make it happen for us. Anyway, good night, my darlings. Bye-bye.
So